Good day, this is Dr. Vasyl Chaika with you, and today we'll discuss how to get rid of swelling, why it occurs, that is, what the real causes are, and what needs to be done to restore our body's health. Let's get started. So first we need to figure out what causes swelling. And of course you all understand that swelling is an increase in the amount of fluid outside the vascular bed. And there are two factors that lead to this. This is physical. For example, when there are problems with the vessels, lymphatic or venous, or weakness, such as weak muscles that cannot pump blood through these vessels and provide an additional pump. And there are those that are controlled by the brain. These are directly related to the kidneys. So let's now take a detailed look at what these swellings are, what the differences are, and most importantly, how to provide the right help. To understand what needs to be treated and what, as they say, will go away on its own, we can do a very simple test. If you have swelling that appeared in the morning, which wasn't there in the evening when you went to bed, that is, they appeared in the morning, your swelling is warm and this swelling disappears during the day, then such swelling does not need to be treated because this is the process of tissue healing. The same situation occurs when you burn your finger. You also get a blister, for example, and you practically don't treat it. You just apply something cold and that's it. But if this swelling is cold, if it persists both in the morning and throughout the day, if the swelling increases by the end of the day, then such swelling needs to be treated. And now we'll discuss how. So the first physical actual cause is venous congestion or lymphatic congestion. Why does this situation occur? Of course, it can be, for example, an enlarged liver, and the liver doesn't pump blood through itself well. Or for example, venous congestion in the pelvic organs. Of the pelvis, a bloated intestine. It can also be muscle weakness or valve insufficiency. All of this leads to our pumping function, which is provided specifically by the muscles, not being performed. Why is that? Because arteries, for example, have a muscular wall, so they contract additionally, maintain pressure, and blood moves very easily through the arteries. But veins and lymphatic capillaries do not have this feature. And that's why, to help pump blood upward, there are two special features. First, there are valves that act like sluices, gradually lifting venous blood and lymph upward. And the second factor is contraction. And this contraction is provided directly by the muscles. So, when we lead a sedentary lifestyle, when we eat improperly, have a bloated abdomen, or have liver problems, all of this creates conditions for venous and lymphatic congestion. And of course, what should we do correctly? It's to help our muscles contract. How can we do that? Can you walk briskly or work out at the gym? No, you don't need such intense contractions here. It's enough to simply walk for an hour at a comfortable pace and in comfortable shoes. You don't need to run or jump. Just walk as usual. Yes, for example, you can also do squats. That's also an option that can help. What else can we do if it's hard for us to do this? For example, if you have swelling and can't walk, or it's difficult for you to move around, then we can use passive contraction or what is actually called vibration therapy. That is, we can actually induce vibration. And there are vibration exercises where you can make your body vibrate. For example, you can lie on your back and raise your arms and legs up. And then, like this with them, shake them for 2 to 3 minutes. This is a gentle vibration, and it also really helps to speed up the movement of blood and lymph. What else can you do, for example, to improve this? You can use ordinary devices like these, which are called vibration massagers. That is, we can help. How exactly, for example, if we have lymphatic swelling? How do we help? We turn on the device, it creates vibration, and we shouldn't start from the bottom. Go upwards, as people often make this mistake. But we need to start right from the place where the lymph flows into the thoracic lymphatic duct. Right here where the chest is, you can hear the vibration starting. In this way, we massage each spot for 2 to 3 minutes. And then we move from the center to the periphery. Then we massage here, where there is a cluster of lymph nodes. Then we massage here as well. Then we massage here for 2 to 3 minutes and do the same in another spot. The same goes for the groin, as well as the popliteal fossae and the feet. So by using such a simple method, we can eliminate swelling, plus a little bit of physical activity. Here's an interesting case. A person lived in a village and constantly had problems with swelling in their legs. He tried everything, applied all sorts of ointments, but nothing helped. But then he took up farming, got a horse and a cart, and every day he would ride out to take care of the livestock. And interestingly, every day, this bumpy ride he experienced over the course of the day, all of this led to his swelling completely disappearing. So, knowing this fact, you can use any kind of vibration or light physical activity, and this will help eliminate the physical causes of swelling. Now let's move on to another aspect, which is no longer governed by physics, but by the workings of our brain. Now let's talk about the swelling that is directly caused by the work of our brain. Please remember one very simple thing. At different periods of our lives, we are made up of 60 to 90% of water, and the amount of this water is regulated by the kidneys. The kidneys cannot decide how much water needs to be retained. The kidneys are just a filter. It's the brain that gives this command. And so, when the brain decides to retain water, the kidneys instantly reduce the volume of urine and the amount of fluid in our body increases. What needs to happen in our lives for such a command to be given? This happens when we find ourselves in conditions that we perceive as unfavorable, harmful to us. What are these conditions? We don't see any prospects for the future. Our life becomes extremely difficult. We are constantly experiencing what we call stress, and there seems to be no way out. I feel abandoned, unnecessary. I am left alone. I moved to another country, and there I lost my homeland. And these perceptions of the world lead to the brain giving a command, and the kidney starts to retain water. So how can we help ourselves now? Let's turn to history again. What did our Cossacks do to turn off this reflex and avoid its consequences? After all, they didn't have all these different procedures or all this knowledge back then. What did they carry with them? Soil, because their native soil meant everything to them. It was a feeling of home, a sense of homeland. And this helped them cope with situations when they traveled to foreign lands and faced no way out. In other words, they knew that someone was always with them. It was their native land. So how can we really help with this in today's modern conditions? And yes, first we need to change the circumstances so that we feel comfortable moving to that place, change schools, change jobs, find a new partner. This needs to be done. Only in this way. Perception will change. Unfortunately, there is no other way. Another interesting feature is when people fall into this so-called trap. They start developing swelling and try to get rid of it every day. And this constant desire to get rid of them, and the inability to escape from it, the fact that the swelling keeps appearing, can also be perceived by a person as a hopeless situation. So please remember, if you are experiencing swelling, the first thing you should do is praise yourself. It's okay, it's temporary, they will go away. If you consider this to be a big problem that you desperately want to get rid of, it becomes a dead end at the brain level, and the swelling will continue. But if it's hard to do this right now, what else can we do? Or rather, how else can we help? And that's a bath. It's just a regular bath. Why a bath? Because the greatest safety and comfort in our body and the greatest peace for our brain was when we were in the womb. And we floated there for 9 months. In what? In water. That water we floated in is saline solution. That's why we can imitate this. How? We fill a regular bathtub, fill it halfway with water, that's 100 liters. For these 100 liters, we take 900 grams of salt. So we create a 0.9% salt solution, sodium chloride. The temperature of the water should be from 36 up to a maximum of 38 degrees. No higher, because if the water temperature is higher, we will increase the swelling. And we lie down in this water and stay there. If the water cools down a bit, we can add a little warm water. It's important that when we're in the bath, there is good ventilation. Make sure the exhaust fan is on or open the door, because if it gets hot in the bathroom and steam builds up, it will be hard for you to breathe and your blood pressure will rise. In other words, if the method is not followed correctly, it will make you feel worse. So let's do this the right way. In the Carpathians, there are these vats, hydrogen sulfide or other types, which are great. When it's cold outside, your head is covered and you're sitting in this bath. And like magic, the swelling goes away. Everything is wonderful. How long should you stay in this bath? As long as you can throughout the day. At least 2 hours. You can read, write, work there, for example, if you work on a computer. And even if there is some terrible infection and we all get locked down, you can still stay in this place and calmly work remotely. Use these recommendations on the physical level, at the level of how our brain works. And stay healthy.